Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. So immediately after I did the first good interruption video, of course, the very next night, I had two really good interruptions on one of my tours. But the problem is, there were only two of them, and it wasn't quite enough to be a standalone video, so I just sort of waited for something else that sort of fit that vibe to put together, and I think I finally found something. So I mentioned in the first video, good interruptions are rare. We get a lot of bad interruptions, like, party buses going by, bad interruption. Really long bike crews that will not stop screaming, terrible interruption. Drunk people screaming incoherently, yeah, that's a bad interruption. Even when the drunks are trying to add to the tour, trying to be helpful, trying to be funny by saying boo or make a joke, it's a terrible interruption. It's always badly timed. Except it's not always badly timed. Once in a blue moon, somebody hits their timing perfectly. So one night I was doing this story, and it's a story at an old brothel. So needless to say, the story tends to be slightly sexual. And I was talking about some guests that had stayed in this place that is now a hotel, and they were, hearing some adult type sounds in the room next to them. And they go down to the front desk and they complain, and I always play this next bit off very much as a joke, and I'm like, they ask, like, what about these newlyweds in the room next to us? And the hotel staff's like, there are no newlyweds. And they're like, okay, what about the boyfriend and girlfriend next to us? And the hotel staff is like, there are no boyfriend and girlfriend next to you. And finally they're like, what, is there like a porn shoot happening in this hotel? And right when I said that, there was a group of guys walking by behind my group, and one of them does sort of like a double take and looks back at me and goes, I don't know, but if there is, count me in. And needless to say, he got a much better laugh than my joke did. And then later on the night, we were at another location, and it's one of those locations like, if you're going on a ghost tour in New Orleans, you're going to learn about Romeo spikes. They're the little pointy bits at the top of the poles that they were originally put in place to prevent people from climbing the poles. And the traditional story is about, like, oh, they were designed to prevent guys from climbing up to see girls up there. And, like, objectively, it's a silly little story, but it's one that gets told on almost every tour ever. And I was right in the middle of talking about the Romeo spikes, and I'm literally just saying, okay, you see this top of the pole? The guys would climb. And right when I got to that point, there was a couple walking by behind us. And I just glanced at them because I had a bit of a weird vibe off of them. And I realized when I looked at them, it was because the guy looked really, like, happy and ecstatic, and the girl looked less so. But the guy hears me talk about poles and just sort of interrupts and starts going, yeah, my girl works the pole. She works it good. And the girl gives him that look of death, the one that says, this is not cute. This is not going to help your prospects tonight. But they walk on by, and I continue with the story, talking about, like, oh, guys would climb up or try to climb up there, and when they slid back down, they might get caught on those spikes. And I always end this story with, and this often led to guys having bad date nights. And right when I got to that point, the couple sort of paused, looked back at me, and the girl goes, yeah, I'm having a bad date night. And yeah, once again, she got a much better laugh than I did. But the third story that I felt sort of fits this vibe. There was a night I was telling a story, and this one was not an interruption. They politely waited until the end of the story. But I was talking about a location where, bodies have been found in places they should not be, and specifically bodies of small children and infants. And I was talking about the fact that, in the 1700s and 1800s, infant mortality rate was through the roof. And the thing is, the bodies were found at this location in the walls. So, of course, a girl politely waits to the end of the story, and she looks me very seriously in the face and goes, oh, I have a question. So you said infant mortality rate was through the roof. And I was like, yes. And honestly, I expected her to be asking, like, why was that? Or, like, something along those lines. But no, she just looked me dead in the face and, serious as death, said, wouldn't it be more proper to say infant mortality rate was through the walls? And I'm embarrassed to say it actually took me a moment to get the pun. And then I was like, yeah, congratulations, you win, best pun of the night. So yeah, I felt like that was vaguely the same vibe. We got a lot of street comedians who are much better at telling jokes than I am. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your own experiences in the comments below.